Okay, guys, it is Happy New Year's. So I'm going to be cooking some black eyed peas, smothered chicken, and also some cornbread. So let's get started. Of course, I have to wash these dishes first. Okay, so before I get started with everything, I had a couple of dishes that I wanted to go ahead and get cleaned and get out the way so I could have plenty of space. You know, when you're cooking, you make new dishes and all of that. So let me knock these dishes out and then I'm going to keep going with the rest of the meal. All right, guys, so now that I have my dishes out the way, so now I'm going to go ahead and start seasoning my chicken. I'm just lining all my seasonings up so I could go ahead and get to those easily. So I got my chicken seasoning, my pepper, also my Cajun seasoning, and then also my paprika. So I'm just making sure that I season that on each side and going ahead and making sure that that's getting over all of the meat. All right, so now that my meat is nice and seasoned, I want to go ahead and make sure that I add my flour. Now, that's going to be the batter for the fried chicken, of course. If you know anything about frying chicken, you got to make sure you season that meat before adding your flour on there. So that's what I'm doing right now. All right, guys, so where we are right now is I'm about to go ahead and get my grease going so I could go ahead and start the frying process for the smothered chicken. So right now I'm just pouring that grease in there, bringing the temperature on up to high, letting it get nice and hot so I could go ahead and pop that chicken in there. And I'm still on the phone with my pastor too. All right, so we're about to get the cornbread going. And of course, I'm using the Jiffy corn box mix. So I'm about to whip it on up, you guys. All right, so I'm whipping up this cornbread, and my pastor is telling me about the story when Jesus threw a party and he had everybody wear this garment. And so he knew that you weren't invited to the party if you didn't have that particular garment on. And it's so funny because as we're talking, that story is so similar in modern life. If you look at social media, you know how you have people who watch everything you do, but they do not like or leave comments or anything like that. But at the same time, they're watching your every move. And that story is so funny because that story is so similar to what we experience now, where you have the looky-loos, people watching everything you do, but they really don't want to support you. They're just watching to make sure that they can track and keep an eye on your progress. But even with that being said, that's why we have to make sure that we are living for ourselves, for our loved ones, for our family, and for Christ. Because if we live by only the satisfaction of others, we're going to always be disappointed. So that story came right on time. And back to the cornbread. So I'm just finished mixing up this cornbread. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead and get my cast iron skillet. And I'm going to go ahead and pour that in there. And the oven is already preheated. All right, guys, as you can see, the cornbread is ready to go into the oven. I'm just wiping off that excess cornbread off the skillet so it doesn't burn while it's in the oven. So yes, the oven is preheated and it's ready to go. And I'm going to put that in there for about half an hour or at least until it's golden brown. Now back over here, I'm still on the phone and she is giving me all of that spiritual knowledge. Love her for that. So what I'm doing now is getting ready to remove the chicken from the pot. You see it's battered ever so nicely. Looking good, looking good. I cannot wait to eat this meal. Well, at this point, I've already ate the meal and it was really delicious. And now I'm just like stuffed. But yeah, If you don't know, black eyed peas is traditional to have on New Year's Eve. And so, with everything that's going on, I definitely wanted to make sure that I did follow that tradition and make some black eyed peas. Okay. So now I'm on my second batch, just going ahead and dipping that battered chicken right into the frying pan as I did before. So now that the second batch of chicken is done cooking, I'm going to go ahead and remove that from the fire, place it on the napkin so it can remove any excess grease. And now what I'm going to go ahead and do is take the flour that I used to batter the chicken. I'm going to be using that to make my gravy mix. So, all right, so now that the chicken is done, what I'm going to do is drain out all of that excess oil so I could go ahead and start my gravy for the smothered chicken. And also, we can't forget about that cornbread. It's cooking so yummy. It's almost there. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's almost there. Just waiting for it to get a little bit more golden brown, and then it'll be ready to come out. Okay, so before I could go ahead and start, oh, here's the chicken, guys. Let me show you. So it looks so good. Yummy, yummy, yummy. So before I can add them to the pot, my husband did want me to kind of cut these in half. He just prefers them cut in half. So I'm going to cut them in half, and then I'm going to go ahead and get the gravy going. So for the gravy, I'm just using a little bit of the flour that I use to season the chicken. Also some butter, some onions, the heavy whipping cream, and some minced garlic. But I'll show you guys along the way. Oh my God, you guys, this chicken as it is so crispy. I just want to eat it up right now. Look at it. Oh my God, so delicious. Okay, you guys, I think I forgot to totally tell you guys about the black eyed peas. So the water is nice and boiling. I've already seasoned it with the chicken broth, peppers, and the sausage. So I'm gonna go ahead and add these to the water right now. So with the peas, I actually did not cook them overnight. I didn't let them soak overnight. So I did one of the hot steams where I boiled the water and then turned the heat off and then let it soak in the pot for an hour. So that actually worked. So, and then after that, I let them drain and remove all the excess water. So now I'm just adding them to the pot. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is get my stuff going for my gravy. And let me go ahead and take my cornbread out too. And here she is. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Okay, so now I'm getting going with the gravy. I already have the onions in here caramelizing. So now what I'm gonna do is add a little bit of butter. And this is actually real butter, you guys, which was a huge game changer for me. Using real butter opposed to that like imperial stuff. Real butter is a game changer. Okay, so now that the butter has came down a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of the flour that I already used to season the chicken. I'm going to add just a few teaspoons of it, a few tablespoons of it. Then I'm going to go ahead and still whip that around. And of course, you guys, depending on your family size, you could go ahead and kind of gauge, your portions. I have a family of 6, so we eat. Okay, so then after you add that flour, you want to make sure that you cook that flour all the way down so you don't have like that flour taste and texture. Yeah. So then once you do that, you go ahead and add your chicken stock, okay? I don't want to. And make sure you keep on stirring it, you guys. Stirring is gonna be your best friend. Keep on stirring it around. It's so good. It has a nice creamy texture, a creamy consistency. So yes. Okay, you guys, and then your last step is gonna be your heavy whipping cream. Now this right here is going to be the key to getting your gravy nice and creamy. But don't forget, you gotta keep on stirring it and mixing it up. Oh, and you guys, and for the black-eyed peas, so once I brought them to a boil, I went ahead and turned the fire on low, and then I'm gonna do that for about an hour and a half. Now I have no idea how many calories this meal has, so keep that in mind. If you are on a low-calorie diet, this may not be the meal for you, because obviously we got fried chicken, we got cornbread, and we got gravy. Okay guys, so here is the finished creamy gravy. So what I'm gonna do now is put my chicken back into the pot and then go ahead and begin my smothering process. And my oven is already preheated, so I am good to go. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is go ahead and add my chicken pieces from earlier. Go ahead and add that directly to this pot, because this pot is going to be going back into the oven. I left some pieces out over here because the kids, they can be kind of picky. So I left these pieces out, and I'm gonna go ahead and just give them the chicken, the cornbread, and the beans, and let them eat that. But they may not even eat the beans because they really only like barbecue baked beans. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and cover each piece in the gravy. Make sure each piece is covered really good. All right, so the chicken is done. So now what I'm gonna go ahead and do is place it in the oven. The oven is already preset for 425, and I'm gonna do this, I think, for about 30 minutes.
Oh, is that food all done? Are we eating now? Are we eating now? What's our food?
Okay, so I'm taking the chicken out. It is ready.
And then you put the hat back on.
So now, nothing is plated yet. Obviously, it just came out the oven, but I will go ahead and show you what we have so far. All right, guys, so here is the smothered chicken. Let's open the pot up for the reveal. Yummy, yummy, yummy. As I always say about everything. From candles to food. Oh, look how it's just... Yum. I already fed the kids, so that's why some of the cornbread is missing. So obviously they enjoyed it. And let's check out the black-eyed peas. These are still cooking and going strong. We're almost there though, because I'm hungry myself. We are almost there though, and I can't wait to sit down and eat this food.